New World Eternum. Depending on who you ask, it's either a needed reboot for a dying MMO, or a complete and utter fucking disaster. A cruel betrayal of the most loyal MMO fans, or perhaps just a complete misunderstanding, because even AGS doesn't exactly know what kind of game they're making at this point, years and years after launch. For those who haven't been keeping up with Amazon's first MMO, they have been teasing a huge announcement for June for months. And in that process, they picked up some slack on how they really handled communication and really the lack thereof and really the kind of the tone deafness. Well, they finally had the big announcement, and it landed with about as big a thud as when democracy failed with Sony's post-launch account creating commands. But why was it received so badly? Why all of the hatred? Especially because the announcement included a new large-scale PvP zone, a challenging 10-player raid, endgame solo trials, upgraded leveling experience, new character archetypes, a revamped dialogue system, and a console release. Or perhaps only a console release. Or maybe not. You see, this is kind of the problem and why this situation with New World has gotten so bad and so freaking sad, because the way they are communicating things is confusing as hell, and it leaves me with more long-term questions than anything else, but we'll get to that in a little bit. This big announcement that used the Game Awards, a show that is quite expensive to get a slot on, really just felt like a pitch to players that don't actually know what the hell New World is and have never played it. Console players. Because you see, it wasn't sold as an MMO. It was sold as an action RPG. An action RPG where you could solo or co-op to play the game. And this caused so much confusion that people were running around thinking that they are actually killing off the game, killing off the MMO, and creating a whole new ARPG, except they're not. That's not what's happening. It just turns out that they're very, very, very bad at communicating, apparently. And now that they tried to clarify it, it actually gets more confusing. Because in fact, the new landing page for the game still refers to the game as an RPG you can play solo or co-op. MMO is not mentioned at all. As Amazon tried to do damage control, a lot more was revealed about how things will actually play out. While there will be some changes like the new raid and PvP zone, others like the revamped leveling system is actually what's already in the game. And the new character archetypes, well, they're just pre-built characters on the same exact system. It's a little bit of new, maybe a lot of old, and this announcement all but dismisses PC players that have really been playing the game on and off for quite some time, although I guess those numbers have diminished as of late, or as of the last, I guess, 2.5+ years. But what's really just leaving everyone so confused is what exactly they think their game is. What does Amazon think New World is years after launching? We don't actually know, because on the landing page, it boldly states that New World Eternum, you can experience a thrilling action RPG on the supernatural island of Eternum. But on New World's Steam page, it still says you can explore a thrilling open world MMO filled with danger and opportunity where you'll forge a new destiny on the supernatural island of Eternum. So the only things we know for sure are that it's a very thrilling adventure and that it's on an island called Eternum. This is a big reason why it feels so frustrating to so many players. This is the tone-deaf communication that demonstrates a company that is so at odds with their own game, they can't even categorize it anymore. A survival game billed as an MMO with servers barely larger than Rust's until they expanded them a tiny bit to 2,000 players that hit a peak of almost 1 million players in 2021, has now tried to sell itself as an action RPG with co-op in 2024 to lure in console players. And their clarification of all of this didn't help at all, and it really shows that they don't know what game they have anymore, if they ever did. We understand there is some confusion today around if New World Eternum will feel like the same genre of game as the New World you are playing today. And the answer is yes. New World has never fit perfectly into any label, but the New World Eternum you will play in October will feel like the same genre of game as the New World you are playing today, with lots of improvements, polish, and the opportunity to play with your friends who may be on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC. What the hell do you mean the same genre it is today? That's an MMO. It's not hard to define. It is an MMO. You have it listed on Steam as an MMO. You say it is an MMO. How do you not know that the game you have been selling to players and had an expansion for is in the MMO genre? Why can't you just say, yes, it's still an MMO? Why are you trying to sell it as an action RPG when that's not it? Unless, perhaps down the line, you actually do want to convert it into this later. Who freaking knows? Because that's the kind of like broken trust you're getting here with this Amazon Game Studios and what they've done with New World. Most players, whether it's setting the game on fire on Reddit, website comment sections, or Steam reviews, are all the most upset about the fumbling of communication to the point where people, including major outlets, were extremely confused as to whether New World has gone and pulled a Wayfinders and dropped the pretense of being an MMO at all. Turns out that no, instead we're getting a Bless Unleashed style console release. And while it remains to be seen if this will have the same trajectory as the bajillionth release and rebrand of Bless Online, there's a greater fear long term. While it may not be the way it's going now, is this the start of a full rebrand of New World into a live service game with limited multiplayer? Is the backtracking and clarification all about saving face when the reaction wasn't received well to calling it an action RPG after years of calling it an MMO? Because after all, they are still calling it an action RPG on all of their websites, and they're refusing to call it an MMO in their damn clarifications. I know it's just words, I know it's just semantics, but it's pretty damn important semantics. The only silver lining here is that if you already have the previous Rise of the Angry Earth expansion for the MMO, you'll get access to Eternum. If you only bought the base game of the MMO, you'll need to buy Rise of the Angry Earth. Unless, of course, you're on console, in which case you get complete access for $59.99. But my biggest frustration with all of this is New World has decent things in it. Things like the comment were actually quite a bit of fun. I put over 150 hours into New World. They have incredible sound design and the world itself is beautiful. But it is also hollow. It's soulless. It has a barely there story that they have tried desperately to try and fill out once the game is well underway and well launched. They have a new player experience that was lackluster at best, that again, they have tried to fix. They have dead servers and no way to do cross server, meaning that as they add new things like arenas, you can't freaking do them because there's no one to do them with. But in a world where most MMOs that are launching today, big MMOs, are all extremely heavily laden with pay to win bullshit, New World offered a little glimpse of hope, so much so that for a brief moment in 2021, it exceeded expectations and then completely flopped. And now it is becoming more and more of a reminder of how out of touch these big studios are of what players actually want in an MMO. Not just players like me who want the more classic experience, but any player of any MMO. I don't think that you're going to have someone from Final Fantasy XIV that would be very happy and excited to hear their game referred to as an action RPG where if you want to, you can co-op. I'll be watching this as it unfolds, but I have this nagging suspicion that this is kind of the start of them really kind of pulling away some of that MMO parts of the game, pulling it away bit by bit by bit until it really is an action RPG live service game with a battle pass. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the new world we have in a year or 2 years, if the game still exists. And perhaps we should have seen the writing on the wall when the game released and you actually had limited options to even be able to group with each other. And sausages. Lots of sausages. In fact, if you want to reminisce a little bit about the ridiculousness of launch, I covered that in this video on some crazy ass MMO stories that'll hopefully make you feel a little bit better about everything. And just enjoy the sausage.